When we talk about the most iconic tanks of the Second World War, one name always stands at the center of the conversation: the M4 Sherman. It was not the heaviest, not the fastest, and certainly not the most powerful tank on the battlefield, but it became the backbone of the Allied armored forces. With its reliability, versatility, and sheer numbers, the M4 Sherman helped change the course of the war and remains a symbol of American industrial strength and ingenuity. The story of the M4 Sherman begins in 1941, when the United States recognized the need for a new medium tank that could replace the outdated M3 Lee and keep pace with developments in Europe. The U.S. Army wanted a tank with a fully rotating turret, a reliable gun, and the ability to be mass-produced. The result was the M4, named after General William Tecumseh Sherman, a Union general from the American Civil War. The Sherman was armed with a 75mm gun, which at the time was effective against most German and Japanese tanks. It also carried several machine guns for close defense. Weighing around 30 tons, the Sherman struck a balance between mobility and firepower. Its gasoline-powered radial engine allowed it to reach speeds of up to 25 miles per hour, which was good enough for both offensive operations and long-distance marches. What truly set the Sherman apart was not just its design, but the way it was produced. American factories, applying assembly line methods perfected by the automobile industry, turned out Shermans at an astonishing rate. More than 49,000 of them were built during the war, making it the most produced American tank of all time. This production capacity ensured that Allied forces were never short of armored support, no matter how fierce the fighting became. In combat, the Sherman quickly earned a reputation for reliability. Unlike some heavier tanks, it was easy to maintain and could be repaired in the field with limited resources. Crews trusted it because it started when needed, ran across harsh terrain, and rarely left them stranded. This dependability became a major advantage in campaigns where logistics and constant movement were essential. The Sherman first saw major action in North Africa, where it helped turn the tide against German and Italian forces. Its arrival gave British and American units a tank that could finally compete with the Panzer III and early Panzer IV models. Although the Sherman was never invincible, its numbers and coordination with infantry and air power allowed the Allies to push back Axis forces. In Europe, during the Normandy invasion and the push into France, the Sherman became the workhorse of the Allied advance. Facing upgraded German tanks like the Panther and the Tiger, the Sherman's 75mm gun was often outclassed. German weapons could penetrate its armor at long ranges, while the Sherman often had to get closer to be effective. This disadvantage led to high losses, and many crews understood that their survival depended on tactics, teamwork, and mobility. Yet, despite the threat, Sherman crews carried out their missions with determination. One of the Sherman's greatest strengths was its adaptability. Engineers and designers constantly modified the tank to meet new challenges. Variants were produced with heavier armor, larger guns like the 76mm and even the British 17-pounder, which became the famous Sherman Firefly. Other versions were converted into recovery vehicles, flamethrower tanks, and amphibious models for special operations. This flexibility ensured the Sherman could fill multiple roles on the battlefield, far beyond that of a standard medium tank. The Sherman also played a critical role in the Pacific theater. Against Japanese forces, it proved superior to the lighter enemy tanks and offered valuable firepower in support of infantry. Whether rolling through the jungles, deserts, or European fields, the Sherman was always there. Its presence gave Allied soldiers confidence that they had the backing of American industry and innovation. Of course, the Sherman was not without its flaws. Crews sometimes referred to it as a Ronson, after a lighter, because of its tendency to catch fire when hit. Thin armor and limited gun power meant that face-to-face duels with German heavy tanks were dangerous. However, the Sherman was never designed to fight as a lone warrior. It was built to fight as part of a combined arms team, supported by infantry, artillery, and air power. When used in this way, it was incredibly effective. By the end of the war, the M4 Sherman had earned its place as one of the defining tanks of the 20th century. It was not just a machine of war, it was a symbol of the United States' ability to mobilize, innovate, and supply its allies on a global scale. Even after the war, Shermans continued to serve in many countries, fighting in conflicts such as Korea, the Arab-Israeli Wars, and others well into the Cold War era. The legacy of the M4 Sherman lies not in being the most powerful tank of its time, but in being the most dependable and available when it mattered most. For the soldiers who rode inside it, the Sherman was a lifeline. For the nations that relied on it, it was proof that determination and production could overcome the challenges of war. Today, it remains a powerful reminder of how America's wartime spirit shaped history, and why the Sherman will forever be remembered as the tank that helped win the Second World War.